All right, going live in three, two, one. This is the Anna Hummel Factor, episode number 13. Anna, how are we doing? How are
Hi.
you doing? I should say. I didn't mean to use the royal we for a second there, but
Oh
how are you
no,
doing?
you're good. I'm doing fantastic today. This whole week has just been absolutely insane, but I love having a crazy life. Better that than, too little to do. But lots of fun stuff, lots of interesting stuff happening at the Bubba Radio Network. So we can definitely get into the court hearing we had today.
Oh, goodness. So yeah, this sounds kind of interesting. So
Mhm.
was there a show today, or did you have to cancel the show for court?
Well, what we did is we kind of did half and half. So we were live till about from 6 a.m. till about 8:15, and then we got ready to go so we could be at court by 9 a.m. So I was all dressed ready to go. So for the first time in history, the woman was ready before all of the men. I was just sitting there chilling, eating a snack, waiting for everybody else to put on their big boy pants. And then we went to Tampa. We were in Tampa, but it was probably about a 15-minute drive to the court and got ready to go. And it was really my second time at court, but my first time kind of really going through the motions of,
Wait,
let's say it was my first time being on the plaintiff side of things
wait,
instead of the defendant side of things. So it's definitely a lot more fun when you're trying to either sue somebody or get somebody else in trouble because of something they've done versus the other way around. So lots of fun.
oh, you said second time. I assume you mean you were on the when you say second time, you were on the other end when you say the first time. That is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah, I ended up getting a misdemeanor when I was in Detroit.
Mm,
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but yeah,
no.
I was in Detroit. I was hanging out with some friends, and we were at a legitimate bar. And then they asked me if I wanted to go to a quote after party. So what am I going to say? No, I didn't have a ride home. So of course I agreed. And they took me to, it was an abandoned building, a place of illegal occupation. And
Oh, abandoned building. Is this some sort of code when you say abandoned building? Is this something I'm supposed to know what you mean, or
no, the code was an after party. That was the euphemism. Um, I didn't know where it was, but the guys I was with, there were three guys I was with. One of them was a coworker. They wanted to go, so what am I going to say? No, take me home. And we're about 40 minutes from home, so I was just, I agreed to go, and we go inside, and it was very obvious upon going inside the venue, if that's what we want to call it, that this place should not have been in operation. They were serving nitrous over the bar in addition to
wait,
alcohol
wait, wait,
past
wait,
2
wait,
a.m.
wait. Hold on. Nitrous.
Like
What do you mean?
laughing gas.
Really, not real nitrous. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, you got me. I was curious. I know what nitrous is. I've never heard of
Yeah.
that before. Is that a
It was
common thing?
laughing gas. And so instead of like a glass of beer, you could have a balloon of nitrous. That
Oh,
was what was for sale. That was what was on the menu.
that's very
So
interesting. Wait, hold on. Wait, but hold it. You gotta. Is this a common thing? Because I've never heard of this before. I know what nitrous is. I really I do. But I've never heard it being sold in such a way. Is this real? I mean, is this common? I mean,
I have no clue. Have never seen it before, and I've never seen it after. So I
okay.
imagine it's
That's
more frequent than you think, but I can't really tell you.
you can be careful with nitrous because that can kill you if you take it in the wrong amount. So, but okay, go ahead.
I don't think I may have had like a sip, if that's what how we want to, you know, um, define the unit of measure. I would say I had probably a sip because I was like, when in Rome, fuck. But I could tell this place should not have been in operation. It was an abandoned building, and we were like on the upper level, and there was probably about 50, 60 people, but it was
Wow,
like a filled thing. It wasn't like people were jumping off the roof or
like a
there.
speakeasy, like a speakeasy from the 20s or something, huh?
I mean, that's a real generous way of describing this place. It was literally like an abandoned warehouse.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
and what happened was is at some point the people that were there maybe got tipped off that the cops were on their way, and they locked us in there like, and
Goodness.
we were literally, I felt like, I'm like, this is kind of giving me Anne Frank vibes because we were locked in there. We realized that all the people that worked there were suddenly gone. They had escaped through the elevator shaft and left the rest of us in there to, I guess, get in trouble. So, and I guess to buy time, because it's going to be a lot harder when you have 60 people trying to get out versus just, 4 or 5. So everybody kind of they leave and they leave us in here there. Most people are kind of fucked up, so they don't really realize. And then all of a sudden we hear bang, 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 Detroit police. And we're like, well, that's not good. So I'm standing there, and I remember standing next to this guy, and he had glasses and he was blonde. And I remember turning to him, and I was just like, so do you think we're going to get like arrested? And he's like, probably. And I was like, cool. Like, I'd never even gotten a speeding ticket before. Like, I'm a good girl. So I remained calm. And one of the other guys I was with, the guy that actually brought me, my coworker, he went and opened the door for the police instead of waiting for them to break down the door. So he let them in, and about 15 cops roll in, guns a-blazing, get on the fucking ground, put your hands where we can see them. And needless to say, I did not go out with that man again. That was kind of like
Oh,
a
you were on a date then with that guy's, which I
I
didn't know
wouldn't
that.
say a date, but I fancied him, and at the time I thought he fancied me. Um, so I just like went to hang. Like, we were coworkers, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to the city. Do you want to go?" And I was new and in town in Detroit, so I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I kind of just
You're
got
working.
caught
You're
up.
working. You're working at a station. This is another radio job. Is that what you said?
No, I was like just working at a country club. This
Oh,
is
oh,
before radio, yeah, way before, like a year before radio was even on the radar.
okay.
So I was going to grad school and working at a country club.
I got you.
Yeah, and he was my manager,
Okay.
and I fancied him, and he, asked me if I wanted to come hang out with him and his boys, and I was like, sure, and then here we are. My face is on the ground of a dirty abandoned building, and there's 15 cops rolling around, telling me to put my hands where I can see him. And I remember him like kind of whispering, like mouthing, like this doesn't usually happen, and I just remember saying, "Fuck you, fuck you." so,
Well,
so
well,
yeah, I ended up. We
hold
did
on,
not.
hold on, hold on, hold on. There's a little bit. I hate to interrupt you here. Your voice does kind of break in and out a little bit. I'm not sure if it might be a microphone issue or maybe an internet connection issue. Once it does kind of flutter once in a while, just to let
Oh,
you
okay.
know.
How's this? Is that
Oh
okay?
well, you have to keep on talking to
All
get a
right.
good
Yeah.
idea. So go
All
ahead.
right. I'll get the mic a little bit closer. So I ended up not getting arrested. We did all get misdemeanors, but what was bizarre about the misdemeanors is that
Wait, how does that work? You don't get arrested, but you get charged with a misdemeanor anyway. How does that? They just what you write a citation or something?
yeah, it was just basically like a citation,
Oh,
and they
okay.
wrote up like 60 people. I think they were like, well, fuck, no one's being violent, and they're probably like, we can't arrest 60. I mean, I guess they could, but they would need more cops, and more cars. So I think they're just like, you know what, we're just gonna write everybody up. But what was bizarre was they ended up writing everybody up for different charges.
But before we go too far, I made a mistake with a recent show, and I want to make sure that we cover this. You had a fan that said hi to you, by the way.
Oh,
Browser video said hi, Anna. So I just want to.
hi. Thank you for tuning in and listening and chatting with us. I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, I got written up, and what was even more fucked up about the situation was I was meant to go home to California from Detroit that summer. Was planning on going home the entire summer. Well, when I got my court date, it was after the flight I had booked. So say I booked the flight on June 15th. Well, my court date was like June 27th or something. So couldn't go home, but I didn't want to tell my parents. And also, I had already sublet out my room to another person to
Hmm.
live for 3 months. So then I realized I was about to be homeless in my own home. So I took all my stuff out of my room, and I lived in the living room for 6 weeks of my own apartment.
Uh-huh. Jeez.
So there was this random Asian man who was living in my room, and then my roommate was in his room, and then I was sleeping on the couch, and like I moved my dresser into the living room. So, and I knocked like $100 off his subletting amount, and because I said I have to stay and I'm going to share the bathroom with you, so I'm going to knock $100 off, and then and he was happy, he didn't give a fuck. So I was like, cool. So I just lied to my parents and said I had some research I had to take care of and I couldn't come home. But I ended up doing research because there's always shit going on at, I was doing grad school. So I just kind of jumped into a project and actually did research and continued to work. But, my parents didn't know that the real reason was I had a misdemeanor and I had to go to court. Otherwise, there'd be a warrant out for my arrest. So couldn't do that. Couldn't have that. So I ended up going to court twice. But what was really bizarre is they wrote everyone up for different charges. So my friend who brought me got written up for disorderly conduct, which is cool. That's like a cool charge that I got.
I've never heard anyone say getting charged is cool, but okay. I'll
Well, if you're gonna get written up for something, it might as well be something kind of badass. Where I got written up for loitering, which
oh,
is just like, oh my god, that's such a pussy offense. Like, you're not even a threat to society; you're just a nuisance. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, this is not okay. So I got loitering. He got disorderly conduct. We were doing the same thing at the same place. So that was kind of bizarre. But anywho, went to court twice and ended up getting it expunged and paid like a $245 fine, and I was
you
good
got
to
to
go.
expunge. So what? So you don't even have a record then? Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, you made it seem like you had a record. Oh, okay. Well,
no, I got a misdemeanor, but it was expunged. So
okay. So you probably, and because they wrote you a citation, you probably don't even have an arrest record. So the whole thing is probably completely gone at this point.
yeah, it should be completely cleared. Yeah, for my record, but I did get written up, and it was for a misdemeanor for loitering.
Well, that
So
was boring. I thought it was going to be like you were locked up. This is not fun. I wanted to hear you get
well,
locked.
I'm sorry. All I'm trying to say is it wasn't my first time at court. Okay, it's technically my third, but it was the first time. I was just there for moral support. Um,
Okay.
so it's a lot more fun when you're there for fun versus like you're in trouble and you got to pay money. So yeah, so today was really fun. We went and I was with some like pretty heavy hitters in Tampa. Radio personalities, big time lawyers. The guy that represented Bubba has also represented Hulk Hogan um, multiple times. I'm pretty sure you remember Hulk Hogan's son got into a really bad accident, and I think the guy that was with him is like in a vegetative state. I want to say, do you recall?
No, I don't remember that. I remember the only thing I remember with Hulk Hogan was something to do with that website that he got taken. I don't remember
The
all the.
sex tape thing, yeah. Well, his son Nick ended up was speeding, and I think not. I think I know he had a friend in the car, and the friend he crashed, and the friend is pretty completely paralyzed and in a vegetative state. I think. So the guy that represented Bubba also represented his son.
Gotcha.
He's a big time lawyer. So it's kind of cool just to see people in their element because everybody and this person the lawyer, this person the doctor,
Wait,
but
hold on. Well, you don't know the guy's name though, is what you're saying. You
I
don't
do
know.
know his name. I just his name's Kevin Hazlett.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it was a big deal to mention it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I was with him and we do a show together once a week on Tuesday nights called Kevin's Law. People call in with questions, law questions, whatever. But it's really cool to see people, and even though he's a lawyer, blah blah blah, but it's really cool to see people who are good at something like in their element. That's really cool experience because I've never been to court with Kevin before,
Ah,
so it's really cool to see that. It's also really cool. Like we have another guy who's a doctor, so when he, um, you know, like a few of the guys have had like one guy got bitten by a dog, another guy had an issue with his finger, and so I've seen some of these surgeries they've taped it, and we put them online. It's really cool just to see people who are really good at something in their element, you know. So that was really cool to see. And unfortunately, we weren't allowed in the actual courtroom. Me and two other people that went. So it was just pretty much the people involved and the lawyer.
really? That's kind of weird. So not like most court cases are open to the public. That's
I
interesting.
know. I don't know if it's a COVID deal. I did see a few people wearing masks. I'm not quite sure. But they just told us to hang tight. And then 5 minutes later, Bubba, Dr. Dan, he's another guy on the show who was threatened by this guy, and the lawyer came back and they ended up getting exactly what they wanted, which was a restraining order for 3 years against this guy. So
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. So no, was he? No, it wasn't like an arrest. Didn't he get? He didn't get
He's
arrested.
he's currently detained. So
Like,
he's in jail right now. His bond is like $200,000, so he'll be in there for a
wow.
month. They're going to try to sentence him because he not only threatened Bubba, he not only threatened Dan, he also went after the sheriff of Pinellas County, which is a county. It's where I live, St. Pete, Florida. Clearwater. I'm sure you've heard Clearwater. That's Pinellas County. So he made a false allegation against the sheriff and said that he was touching kids and doing cocaine.
Hmm.
So when you do that against the sheriff, it's not going to be good for you.
Right. What who's? Excuse me. Who? Pardon my ignorance. Who is Dan? You said mentioned Dan. Was that
He's
which
the
one?
co-host on the show. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like the Bubba the Love Sponge show, and then there's me. There's like this guy Lummy, this guy Blitz, Doctor Dan. So there's a few different characters, and Dan was threatened by this guy Ken, who came to visit us last.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know who Dan was.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Okay. Gotcha. So, I mean, was there any, were you eventually, I assume you were eventually allowed in or what happened with you being forced out there? What was that all? What did,
Well, I mean, we made it all the way. We were just right outside the courtroom. Like we were in the courthouse. It's not like we had to wait outside in the heat or anything. We went through security. We went to the third floor. We thought we could actually go into the courtroom, but unfortunately we couldn't. It was
right.
literally less than 5 minutes they were in there.
Oh,
So
okay. That's what I was wondering. What happened after they said you couldn't go in? I was just wondering.
we
So,
just waited for like 5 minutes.
so you really didn't need to go there then is what happened, is what you're saying.
No, it was more just for moral support, and also I was like taping content.
Oh,
So I was
they,
just getting.
did you, they allow you to record in the courthouse?
Oh no, no.
Oh, okay.
But
Some
I
courthouses
think
do.
you're allowed to, but just not in the courtroom.
Gotcha.
So we were just in the courthouse. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but there's no taping in the courtroom. So
Gotcha. So was everyone all dressed up nicely for the
we were, yes. Everybody looked very sharp. I was very shocked because a lot of those guys just wear, radio guys, just basketball shorts and a t-shirt every day. So when you see them in a three-piece suit, you're like, whoa, what's that?
So, all right. Well, I mean, are you happy with the outcome at this point?
Yeah, I am. The guy was apologetic and he didn't contest anything, but he's mentally ill. He thinks Bubba's been listening in on his life for 11 years and using his life as radio fodder. So I don't know if you've seen A Beautiful Mind, but it kind of reminded me of that, except this guy isn't good at math.
Is that
So,
to excuse my ignorance again? Is that a movie or a TV show?
oh yeah, you said you didn't know movies between a certain year range. Beautiful Mind was like a really popular movie. It was with Russell Crowe. It probably came out like 2000. I don't know, somewhere around then. And
Okay.
it's about this guy who's like really smart. I don't know if I can't remember if he's a professor or I think he's a professor or a mathematician or something. And he's schizophrenic. So he thinks that people are following him and, that he's super paranoid. I think he thinks the feds are after him. And it's just kind of like the movie is about him trying to gain control over his schizophrenia and not let it overtake his life once he realizes that the voices aren't real people. So instead of learning to like hate them or shun them out, he learns how to like live with these voices, and he understands they're not real. It's a great movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So this guy's like that guy is what you're saying. In other words.
Right. Yeah. It was giving me Beautiful Mind vibes for sure because he just was super paranoid. But like I said, this guy isn't good at math, so less romantic. Yeah.
Well, let's. Would you like to check our question from last week from our view?
Yes, I could.
Okay, give me a second here while I bring this up. Do you remember? I know what it is. Do you remember what it was?
Our question from last week,
I'll bring
not
it up.
about marriage. That was 2 weeks
No, it's
ago.
do you think the military should pay for gender assignments?
Oh, that's right.
And shockingly, I am shocked by this result. 82%, which is pretty much where it was last time. I forget, generally in the same general area. 82% yes, 18% no, which is really makes me think. Like someone else once stated very recently that people just pick the upper answer first without
Oh.
even thinking. But I am utterly shocked with the result on that. And if you look at the results of the answers below, the second one down says the same thing. I cannot believe 82% think the military should pay for something that's not their responsibility. And 6 thumbs up on that. People saying I don't either. 2/3 are quick troll people, quick troll voters that do fuck up the polls. I know woke is a virus, but come on, it ain't that bad yet. And
Or is it?
the third one says Google is screwing with this poll. Google is been big. I don't know if you know about the controversy with. Well, you know about big tech and everything, right? So
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I'm shocked. What do you? I mean, you seem to think it was okay last week. I mean, like I said,
No, I would have if you would have talked to me 6 months ago. I would have agreed with you completely. Like, this is not a necessary disease or surgery. It shouldn't be covered. But again, like, if we consider gender dysphoria to be a mental disorder, as we do, and if this is part of the treatment, which it is, like, if you're depressed, if you're depressed and you are covered by the military, you're allowed to get pills, Prozac or whatnot, Zoloft, to help you with your mental condition. And if we're playing by the same rules, if gender dysphoria is a mental disorder and you're covered by the military, you work for the military, whatever, then if this is part of the treatment, then if so facto, they should also cover the surgery. But I mean, I have issues with it, obviously, but I mean, just logically alone, if we're following logic and being consistent, we kind of have to just say, I guess so, right? Like, I don't know. I don't see how this is different if you really break it down. It's all about how we define things. If we define gender dysphoria as a mental disorder, okay, then how do we treat it? Okay, is gender reassignment, is that a treatment? Okay, then if so facto, then I guess it should be covered. So.
Well, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to disagree on this one because I don't agree. Sorry. Now there's nothing more you can say that makes me want to think that. I've known. I mean, I'm open to. I'm not closing my mind off. I'm just. You're not convincing me, is what I should say. So.
Okay, that's fair.
I do have an open mind. I'm not closing on saying nothing will change my mind. I shouldn't say it like that. Maybe if there's an argument that's a little stronger than that, I maybe, but I don't.
What is your argument other than no?
Like, because it's completely not. It's not needed in my opinion. It's something that somebody wants to do that's not necessary for their body. You're talking about mental disorder, and you're talking about maybe we should alter their physical aspect versus a mental aspect. There's just to correct the mental aspect. I don't see how that makes any sense to me. So
then let's look at something that's a little bit more general that most people consider to be a mental disorder. So would you say gender dysphoria is a mental disorder?
I don't have enough really to say yes or no. I guess I could say
okay.
yes.
Well, if it's in the book, the DSM, that it's included in there. That's what everybody. That's kind of just like the Bible of psychological disorders, right? So let's just assume that it is. Gender dysphoria is in the book. People are treating it like it's a mental disorder. Okay. Should we treat depression? Should the people in the military be covered if they have an issue like depression and pills are offered? Obviously, no one's forcing them to take happy pills, but if that's an option for treatment, should that be covered by the military?
I see you're kind of drawing in another argument to justify this argument. That's what it seems like you're doing. And
well, I'm just trying to make a comparison because we're talking about mental disorders and treatment.
Yeah, so. And I have a problem with people. I'm not trying to come down on you, but I've seen other people do argument before. They say, "Well, if we do this, don't you think we should do it with this one as well?" But it's like it's not the same. It's.
But why isn't it? But why isn't it the same?
Because it's because you're physically doing something that to a person's body.
Well, you could say like pills physically affect the body. Like you're taking some extraneous
But
something, you
well,
know.
that's yeah, but pills don't remove completely functional and not, organs off your body that don't need to be removed in the first place.
Right. But I mean, I think the point is that you said that, it's not necessary. It's something that they want.
It's an
But
option. It's an
it's not,
option.
but pills are an option for, if you're depressed or if you're anxious. They said, hey, take these pills. You don't have to, but it might help you. The
Okay,
military would certainly pay for some pills.
you're still doing the same, making the same argument. It's like, I mean, you're saying, well, it's because of this. Well, then this should also be in that same category, and I don't see them being in the same category at this point. That's
I
why.
understand one is way more extreme. I totally get that. But I'm all about just consistency. Like, if we're classifying gender dysphoria as a mental disorder and we're classifying depression as a mental disorder, then we have to treat them both the same in regards of like the treatment is covered. If we decide that gender reassignment surgery is a treatment and pills for depression are a
But
treatment, and if all treatments are covered, then you would have to cover the gender reassignment
how
surgery.
does removing a man's penis make them better? That doesn't make any sense. A pill
Well,
can, that
again,
doesn't.
like it's kind of like if
You're,
that's what's making them unhappy because they feel like they're in the wrong body.
yeah, but you're not. You can't, okay. Any changes that are made are strictly. We're getting into a separate argument now, but any
So
changes that are made are strictly aesthetic anyway. You're not really.
I understand what you're saying. It's really hard for probably us to understand what that might be like, because it's like you don't want to change your, genitalia. I don't either. I don't, it's kind of hard for us to understand. But
I mean,
I've heard a lot. Yeah,
hold on. You and I also agree. We talked about this before. You and I can't stand tattoos. I mean, I don't know if you have any body piercings or not. I
no,
wouldn't.
I
Even,
zero piercing, zero tattoos.
I would never do piercings or tattoos, and that's also in the same category as like doing things, removing body parts. I would never do that. I'm not criticizing people that want to do it. If they want to do it, that's their choice. But I would never do that, and so I can't relate to any of that. I mean,
Right, right. But when I've heard a lot of people that are transgender in like interviews and stuff like that, and they wake up every day feeling like they are in the wrong body. So imagine if you, being a man, obviously, if you woke up every day and you had a female's body and you just felt like you do now mentally in your mind, I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a man, but you have this body that wasn't congruent with how you felt, that would probably put you in a very distressing situation for like your whole fucking life. So that's what I try to think about. Like me as a woman, if I woke up and I had a penis every day, I'd be like, that doesn't belong there. What the fuck? You
yeah,
know?
but if that's the case, then how did you even get in the military in the first place if you got such a problem? I mean, that's going back to that argument now. I mean, should we even let people like that in the military if they're having that much of a problem? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're still, I mean,
And they were
I
giving them
think
guns.
as long as they are able to pass all of the stress tests or the physical tests or whatever it is, if they can pass all of that and they can pass basic training and they're smart enough and fast enough and conditioned enough, then yeah, I mean, if they're able, and again, I'm sure that they probably do psychological analyses and examinations on these people, and they're like, all right, it sounds like you're not going to kill anybody, you're not going to kill yourself, like you're good to go. I don't know how thorough these examinations are, if they even exist. To be honest with you, really don't know. But I mean, you could be in the military for like 2-3 years and then say, you know what, I've felt like this. I'm actually coming quote out of the closet. I feel like I'm a trans person. I've had gender dysphoria my whole life. I've been concealing it. Now I decided I'm trans and I want to transition. I work for you. This is my disorder. Treat me. So listen, I get it. It seems like crazy to be like, hey, cut off my penis and I want it to be paid for. I totally understand that, like, what the fuckery. But I'm just trying to be logically consistent. That's all.
Okay. And I've told you about my
I get
feeling.
your point.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we're going to agree on this one. I think we'll just,
Yeah.
you have your opinion, I have my opinion. We'll just have to
Yeah.
respect each other's opinion on this one. So,
That sounds good.
I mean, I've talked about, I obviously already done this, made the comparison to be IID. So if a guy goes in the military and says, "Hey, I want to hack my arm off," should the military pay for that because it's going to make him happy too? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're following the same logic, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to agree because this is the logical, I'm all about logical consistency. So yeah, if this person was diagnosed with, cut off my arm syndrome, then I guess it should be covered.
okay.
I'm not a fan of it. Like, I don't know any physician that would do it, but I
I
would
mean,
then have to say, yeah, I guess so.
I think at that point though, if you don't have an arm, how can you be in the military at that point? So
Well, right. I think that at that point they'd be like, maybe cover the surgery and be like, okay, and I think we're done here because now you don't have an arm and you can't be, now you're a veteran. Oh, did you lose your arm in war? No, I just wanted to cut off. What?
there's there's also people, and I don't mean to mock these people, but some of them they'll actually want to be blind. They'll actually find a way to blind
No.
themselves.
Oh,
And I mean, these people, I really feel for these people because I don't know, I have no idea what they're going through with that. But it must be really hard. So I'm not trying to criticize the people, anybody, gender dysphoria, anybody. It's just bottom line for me is the government should not be paying for it. So regardless. So, and you're in a disagreement. That's fine. So we'll move forward from there. I don't think either one of us is going to convince the other we're right. So.
right. Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Let's see. Ricky says no, they shouldn't. Why should the military be take responsibility for someone who wants to manipulate their organs in the worst way? Okay. No, the healthcare yourself. Wait a minute. Find the healthcare yourself. The army should only be covering injuries, not the cost matters when they are paying $20 for one pencil and 5 million for a single plane. Okay. I mean, it's the next one down. I mean, it's not their responsibility. So no, there's a lot of people that are against this in the comment section here. Probably because the yes is so high. Um,
Right.
if you were born a man, you'll die a man. If you're born a woman, you'll die a woman. That's why God made you. Okay, well, I agree with that, except for the God part. Um, the no, it should only be injuries. Let's see. GTFO, you want to maim yourself, do it on your own time, on your own dime and time. Lots of smiley faces and squiggly things. Hell no. I'm not getting I'm not getting anybody that's agreeing with you here, Anna. I
They
think
all said yes.
no, I mean, as far as the comments go, nobody's
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
No, I
So
know. I'm just saying, but it's weird that they all said yes in the actual
yeah.
poll.
No. These are other ones I don't know. I don't know what that means. Wait, what? That's Kiss Best Fanny. Often he comments on everything. No, not at all. No. Why though? No, no. I'm just, no, no insurance should. It's crucial healthcare. So it's a crucial, yeah, crucial healthcare for some people. Okay, there you go. There you go. There's someone that's on your side. That's kind of like what you're saying, right?
Yes, it is. Again,
Yeah.
I'm not super jazzed about it, but I feel like I just kind of have to say yes.
Yeah. G Shot responds. Someone says how. He says gender transition has shown to help trans people's mental health greatly. Well, you got someone on your side there. Let's see, if someone has pre-existing mental health issues, not specifically just dysphoria, other than trans issues, they shouldn't be allowed. Okay, that's my argument right there. So, okay, so yeah, you have one person like I said, everyone seems to be on your side in the votes, but in the comment section, you only have one person on your side. Oh, two people. We got yes down here. Oh, and yes. So you got
So,
three people on your side on the comment section. So
okay. Again, I'm not super jazzed about sponsoring people's, gender reassignment surgery. It's more just like I feel like I have to be logically consistent.
oh, you broke up again. I'm sorry. You'll have to repeat that last part. It's your audio is just going. It really sounds like an internet dropping in and out. Say it one more time.
Oh yeah, no problem. I wasn't having any issues before, but I'll check it out after the show.
Okay.
I was just saying that I'm not super jazzed about like the military paying for gender reassignment surgery, but I just feel like I have to be logically consistent. That's all.
Mhm. Okay. It's interesting to use the word jazzed with that kid. I'm sure you're familiar with jazz. So the
Like the music or the type of dance.
the kid, his name was Jazz, who was a boy that was transitioned to a girl.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know about that? Oh, okay. Okay.
No,
I wasn't sure if that was intentional or
no,
not.
it wasn't. I did not know that at all.
Okay, yeah. Jazz is a
That's
young
funny.
boy who basically got transformed into a girl before he hit puberty. And I know you're against that. You're against children completely, though, right?
Oh yeah, yes,
Okay,
yes,
so you
yes.
would be against the whole thing with Jazz at this point, I assume.
Yeah. How old
And-
was
well, she's probably, I think, about 10 maybe or so, I think. And the whole argument why they do it for children, I don't know if you know why they do it to young children. Do you know why they choose children?
It's more effective if you transition them before puberty.
Yeah, yeah, the puberty, right. You can, if you're a boy, if you don't go through puberty, you can still pretend you'll still have the young voice, which sounds like a female's voice, and you don't they don't grow the masculine features and things like they're
Right.
trying to do that, which makes them look more like a woman than I
Yes, it's certainly more effective if you can do that before puberty, but I'm extremely against doing anything before the age of 18.
okay, I got you. Well, how
Yeah.
about, oh, that's an interesting question. 18. What about like say like a 16 or 17-year-old? I mean, by then they're probably not going to change their minds. I mean, would you be okay with?
No, no, I understand. I get like there's not so much of a difference between a 17 and an 18-year-old. Like in real life, I understand that, but we've drawn a hard line in the sand because we have to draw the line somewhere. That 17 is technically a child or a minor, and 18 is an adult. So if
Okay.
18 is an adult, that's what we define as adult. Then anything like that, like taking hormones, like any sort of reassignment surgery, anything invasive like that, minors should not be able to make that decision at all. And I don't even think parents should be allowed to sign off on it. I think that that's like kind of a form of child abuse. But whatever, not my kid, not my choice. But if a person wants to make that decision as an adult, then you have autonomy over your body. You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. You agree with that as well. But
Yeah.
I think
There are, yeah, I agree with that. I do agree, but the problem is, as I've brought this up before, is that a lot of adults are coerced into doing it when they don't want it. They really don't want it. So
yeah,
there's a lot of gray area when it comes to adults choosing their own. Unfortunately, they're being
yeah,
coerced and they regret it later. And that's a major problem. So there's another woman I'd like to talk to. Maybe you can try to bring her on if she could talk with us. She's I think she's a lawyer. I forget her name. I could look it up, but she's written a book about there's a problem right now that's really grown within the past 5 years where young girls, I say young teenage, I think they're all teenage girls, are being coerced into thinking they should have a gender reassignment. They're not 18 yet, that's for sure. And she's written a book about why she's against it.
is
And
it? I
I
saw
forget.
her on Rogan. I see the woman's face. Hold on, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, yeah, you probably know who I'm talking about because she's very smart, very good, and I've listened to her talk, and she makes a lot of sense. And it's just, she's talking about the thing I'm talking about, but the coercion aspect. So,
Yeah,
and it's a shame because these people's lives are ruined after that. They really didn't want to do it in the first place, and then now they
they do
can't go.
like they make like a pact. Abigail Schreier.
That's her. It's a, yep, that's her. That's her. You got it. So
Yes, I've definitely seen some of her stuff on Rogan for sure. Yeah.
so
I also there's also I almost said I'm like, is she a woman? She's a lesbian, but I couldn't remember if she was queer or not. But her name is Katie Herzog. She's a fantastic journalist outside of Seattle, and she was actually pretty hardcore in the like queer, woke kind of lesbian, LGBT, A plus whatever movement.
mhm.
And what she started doing is she started um, doing research and investigating people who detransition,
Mm.
and she got completely shunned from her community, like the whole queer community and everything like that in Seattle. I think she had it moved because people were like vandalizing her office. She was working for like a more corporate media outlet, but ended up getting let go, or I think she quit. So now she's on like, I forget where they all go, like not Space Stack. Um, I forget
Mm.
exactly what it's called, but it's kind of like you have to go and it's kind of like Patreon, but for journalists. You
Oh,
have to,
okay.
but I forgot. I think it's Writing Stack, something like that. But anyways, it was really funny because she was like kind of on the inside of the movement. Like she's a lesbian. She's I wouldn't say she's queer. She identifies as a female, but she was in the whole movement where like all of her friends were queer, all of her friends were lesbian, and she ended up doing research, investigative journalism on people who detransition, and she found that like a lot of people who transition, men that transition into women, end up transitioning back into men, and it causes like all of these problems, and it's actually a much higher percentage than most people think. She said that a lot of these people, especially when they're in communities like Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and they come out as queer, they're like regarded as heroes and applauded for their bravery, as like teenagers. I guess they start on hormones pretty young and
Yeah.
maybe even do reassignment surgery. And then as they get older, they realize that they really were just like gay men, pretty
Mm.
much.
Right,
And so
right.
they try to transition back into men. They just talk about how they're disowned from the community for detransitioning. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things. I've looked into this as well. There's other factors, like there's people who are simply cross dressers. It doesn't they don't
Right.
that's another thing. It's completely separate on its own, because cross dressers, that a lot of them don't think they're women or men, that is, they're cross, because I don't think there's any female cross dressers that I can usually, you don't hear the other way. It's usually men being cross dressers. But they don't think that they're women. They just enjoy wearing the women's clothing. So
Mhm.
for whatever reason, there's lots of reasons for it too. And then they're coerced into doing the transition thing, and then their lives are ruined afterwards. And they realize, no, I realized all along I didn't want that. So
Right. Right. But it's so funny that it's like you talk about these oppressive right wing evangelical families that like disown gays. This is
mhm.
exactly the same thing.
Oh yeah, I agree. And that's why that's why
Right?
I don't like the Democratic side anymore at all. I told you I'm extremely peace minded. I used to one of my friends long ago used to call me a pacifist because I'm so anti-war. I hate war.
Hmm.
So I stood on the side of the Democrats. I do like people like McGovern, even though McGovern was more socialist. I'm not a socialist, but and Ron Paul is even more peace minded. He was on the Republican side.
Yeah,
And
very anti-war.
so, those are the people I respect. But when I saw the Democrats were becoming so violent, I banned out, because there's no peaceful hippies anymore. They're all
No,
gone. It's all
no,
it's not like it was during. There's no pot smoking, peace loving hippies from the '60s and early '70s. They're
yeah,
they're just as bad as the Republicans. So
they're still smoking pot, but they are violent now.
yeah, yeah. So you have a new question we'd like to ask the viewers this week?
Yeah, I heard recently, like within the last 2 days, that it looks like they're trying to, I think it's the WHO, they're trying to push masks on people again because of the Delta variant. And we all knew this was coming, right? Like, you scare people into submission, everybody gets the vaccine. Well, how do you maintain control? Oh, well, there's variants and the Delta and the South African, whatever. So, I mean, I think when I read this, I laughed, out loud. I was like, if they think they're gonna fucking put us back in the mask cage, they've got another thing coming. How many people? What they were saying, the WHO said that even if you're fully immunized, you've had both, Pfizer shots, both Moderna, J&J, whatever. Even if you're completely inoculated, you have to wear a mask again because the Delta variant, may not be protected. You may not be protected with the vaccine from the Delta variant. So, I'd like to ask people, will you start wearing a mask? I guess it's kind of only for people who have been vaccinated, but, or if you want to ask if you're scared of the Delta variant,
Well,
or will you start wearing a mask again?
have you been vaccinated?
No.
I have not been vaccinated either, and I'm not wearing a mask. So I mean.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like it seems like you even had an opportunity to wear one?
I mean, opportunity in the sense where I was like told I was supposed to and I didn't. No.
No, like it seems like you don't really go to places where there's a lot of people. You don't go to the grocery store. Everything's kind of delivered to you.
Right. I recently talked to my sister, and she talked about going out to a restaurant. So,
Oh.
but that's and she but that was a that we haven't done that yet. So we're not sure how that's
Mhm.
going to. So she was actually concerned. She said, since I hadn't been vaccinated, she said, am I concerned about the virus? I told her the same thing I told you. I said it was an overreaction and I don't really care. I'm not, it's just a disease like everything else. It should be taken seriously, but it was an overreaction. So no, I'm not concerned about being around anybody else. Um,
Right.
so, I mean, it was kind of funny because when I was teaching, I was around students all the time, and people used to call me a hypochondriac because the kids come in with regular coughs and things, and so I would take extra vitamins just to keep from getting sick. But that's just because I was around. I would do the same thing if I knew people were sick around. If they had a COVID as well, I'd be very cautious around them. But
Sure.
it's not being a hypochondriac. I'm just being cautious. So when you're in a class full of students, there's always going to be someone sick in there. And so I was always on edge with that stuff. But
Sure.
in a work environment, I had this one idiot that worked with me, and he would come in coughing and sneezing because he had kids, and I assume these kids gave him the disease, whatever disease it was. And then I ended up catching it because I'd use the same damn computer he was using, and then he'd mock me because every time he'd come in, I'd spray it down with Lysol or something. He said, "What are you, a hypochondriac?" No, I don't want to get sick again because of you. So, and, anyway,
I get it. I totally get it.
anyway, I'm just going off a little tangent of sorts. But the my sister, no, I told my sister, no, I'm not concerned. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I will wash my hands probably, if I get around somebody, and just take regular precautions. So, but yeah, getting back to the questions, how should we word this?
I'm trying to think. Like, I guess it really only applies to people that are vaccinated or not. I'm trying to think. Maybe we should just ask people: are you afraid of the Delta variant? And
Oh, this might get blocked or partially blocked by Google or YouTube, just to let you know.
okay.
So there's nothing we can do about it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It was so if so, we'll find out next week, because what will happen is I think I explained this before. The number of votes will not be above 3,000 or 4,000, or it'll be like 100 or something. That's how we'll be able to tell.
Okay.
So, but it's
Okay.
not a big deal. Let's go and ask it anyway. It's not a big deal. Some people will
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, we could just say, are you afraid or fearful of the Delta variant of coronavirus? Because what they're saying is like, this is a lot more contagious. It's a lot more severe. You're not protected even if you got the vaccine. So they're trying to, push us back into submission again about being scared, wearing masks, quarantining. And I don't know about everybody else, but I am fucking done with this bullshit game. No
But
thanks.
it sounds to me like your conspiracy minded part of you is reacting to this. You think it's a conspiracy. It sounds like they're trying to. You said like they're trying to put us back into a control situation. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, I do. I really think it is. I really think that I mean, I've been doing a lot of research over the past few weeks about, you know, not only just Fauci's leaked emails, but, um, it seems like it's more than just a theory. Like, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago about, is it a theory, or do you think it really happened that this virus was concocted in a lab? I've been saying for a year this virus doesn't make sense, and the reason that I initially said that was because they told us that people who had compromised immune systems were at risk, right? If you're older, if you have diabetes, whatever, heart disease, whatever. But you know who has really shitty immune systems? Little kids, infants. They get sick all the time. And by and large, infants, toddlers, kids under the age of 10 were fucking fine. So I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why is it only targeting like older individuals? Because if it's bad immune systems all around, then infants would be dying by the millions because infants have shitty, underdeveloped immune systems.
Hmm.
So that was made me kind of question, like, this feels like it's been engineered. Like, and I'm not a virologist, I'm not a chemist, I'm not a biologist, but that just kind of stuck with me this whole time. I'm like, that just doesn't add up. Like, why would it not affect kids? So, more and more came out about the lab leak theory, and it seems like, if you kind of follow the story of Eco Health Alliance, Peter Daszak, all these kind of characters, Dr. Fauci, a bunch of others, you're starting to realize, like, oh, gain of function research was something that, they were using the American tax dollar for in Wuhan. We had a connection. Oh, we sent a guy to investigate the origin, but he was the guy who was funding the lab. So obviously he's not going to be like, yeah, it's from the lab. He's like, oh, it's from nature. So I'm like, okay. And then on top of that, I'm also learning about the fact that they were kind of, they being the powers that be, were sitting on pretty much the cure for coronavirus. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, all of these things are coming out that are being shown to be extremely effective. There was a meta-analysis that was released last week. Brett Weinstein was talking about it. He's a evolutionary biologist.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, I know it's Weinstein. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Weinstein. Yeah. Brett Weinstein was talking about this, and he said that ivermectin. And meta-analysis is like a bunch of different studies that were done, and this is the combined results from all of those studies. That ivermectin, when taken prophylactically, is 86% effective at coronavirus. And he brought up a really good example of Africa. He said, why is it that Africa really hasn't suffered tremendously like other other places have? And he said that because a lot of Africans are already on ivermectin for parasitic infections. So they take this preemptively for, I don't know, malaria, dengue fever, West Nile, whatever. They're taking that. And so when coronavirus came around, they were already like somewhat protected because they were already taking this other drug for parasitic infections. But ivermectin's been shown to be extremely effective in treating coronavirus, especially early on, and also preventing it. And all of this information has been really shielded from public view, and that's super disgusting. And the reason why, if you kind of just do the money math, why would that be the case? Well, ivermectin, the patent has expired. It's a cheap drug, and there's not a lot of money to be made. But new vaccines are expensive. So big pharma stands to gain and make a lot of money from these new vaccines, especially when governments are buying millions of them, or maybe even billions, collectively. They stand to make a lot of money. And why are the governments buying and holding out for big pharma? Well, a lot of these heavy hitters fund campaigns. They lobby so that certain politicians get in power and then make legislation that's favorable to them. We all know this is how the system works. So I guess not getting a vaccine is not only just in the interest of my own health because I don't know the long-term effects, but it's also just a fuck you to big pharma. So this is my baby protest. I'm not getting the vaccine at all unless they're like, you can't cross state lines, you can't go to a concert. Like, I'll get it. But if it's just for public health, like, you can go fuck yourself. That's how I feel.
There was in Virginia, the director of health was about, according to, well, of course, I'm sorry, I'm tired of looking at Fox and CNN, but Fox was, anything that promotes their cause, like they'll promote it really bad. Anyway, they showed this story where the Virginia director of health or whatever, he's the head guy in Virginia, was saying that he thinks that everyone should have mandatory vaccinations. And
No.
this is, I don't think that would happen, but it was interesting that he did say that, but I was wondering what the full context of what he said, because as usual, they only show you the parts they want you to see. So
it might be. Well, you should just say my body, my choice, right? Can't we use that argument for this too?
Yeah, in fact, I think they're using that. They were trying to say, hey, well, what about people who are pro-abortion? That's what they say. So,
yeah.
Okay. So let me see. I got, are you afraid of or fearful of the Delta variant of the coronavirus? Did you want to add something else to that as well?
No, because then it just gets too confusing. I was gonna say, like, if you're vaccinated, but like, I just want to know if people are afraid, and you can do like yes, no, don't care if you want.
Okay. Yes. No. I don't care. Okay. Look good?
That looks great.
Okay. Make sure there's no spelling errors like I usually have. Are you afraid or fearful of the Delta variant of the coronavirus? Okay. Looks good. Here we go. And it's on. So.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be wrapping things up in a little bit here anyway. So, but yeah, we can see a handful of people will probably vote on that. I will, like I said, we'll definitely get some results, but whether or not it'll be, a lot, I'm kind of not so sure about that. So
I have a question. I know that you said you don't want to get the vaccine, or you haven't gotten the vaccine. I don't know if you said you don't want to get it. I'm assuming not. Um, how do you feel about getting it?
I just
What are your concerns, if any?
I'm as with any disease, I'm concerned, of course, but I've already heard several people say this is here permanently, so it's we just got to deal with it. Just we'll have a coronavirus season and all that, and it's just like the flu season. It just
Have you
we
gotten a shot before?
what I'm sorry, say it again.
Have you gotten a flu shot before?
Not recently.
But you
I'm
got,
maybe when I was a kid. I don't know.
but
I
it
do.
doesn't seem like you're an anti-vaxxer.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not anti that. No, but I mean, I am the one concern I've heard people say, and I do agree with it, is this since the vaccination is still relatively new, and you're saying this as well, we don't know what the long term effects could be or what
Right.
side effects. So that is kind of a concern. I do remember, and I was trying to remember what this was. I remember when I was a kid. I was probably like 10 years old. There was some sort of a disease outbreak, and I remember everybody going to get vaccinations, and my mother took me to we went to a local high school and she waited in line to get her vaccination. I did not get that for some reason, but it was a long line. People were just so afraid of whatever this was. I'm trying to remember what it was. So I might have been younger than that. So I'm still trying to figure out what it was. And I've not seen as have you I've not gone to any of these vaccination areas. Have you seen anything like that? Are there long lines? I don't know. I'm not sure what the story is around that.
I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
Okay. I do know, I can tell you because I report this every day in one of my newscasts. I have a station in Leesburg, Virginia, I do news for, and I report on the DC numbers. And I will say the numbers have dropped substantially. I mean, they've really, really dropped. So whatever's going on, of course, the summer's here. So, I mean, I think that's also a variable because last summer everything dropped as well. So I think, isn't it the true, we have to wait till it gets cooler again before we can actually feel, know if it's really affecting it? How does that work?
I'm not sure if it's weather. I'm assuming that it probably will get worse in the wintertime just because, and it has nothing to do with that your immune system is compromised. It's just that I think that more people are inside, like less people are outside congregating.
No, no. I mean, the temperature has an effect on it. That I remember hearing that.
Yeah, I remember them saying, but I mean, I'm assuming that it would be like it would need to be in the. I mean, when I don't know when viruses start to die in temperature,
yeah,
because
from what it's the heat that kills the viruses. Heat kills it, and then cold. So when it gets cold, it gets more stronger. So
no, well, but here's the thing: if the virus lives inside of you, I mean, when it's outside of the body, obviously, if it's cold, or if it's too hot or too cold, it's going to die. But inside of you, we're warm-blooded animals. Unless you have a fever, which kills viruses, obviously, that's like the body's reaction to what do you call it? Not a parasite, but a foreign agent, whatever. Um, but warm-blooded animals maintain a core body temperature that's the same regardless of the weather outside.
right, but yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's the temperatures are still affecting it though. That's the numbers shot up. I remember last year they shot up when it started to get colder again. That's what, and then
I
at,
think that it's again, if it's living inside the body, I don't think that I think viruses thrive more in the wintertime because people are indoors more. So I think, if you're outside, you're less likely, because they were talking about, being outside is safer than being in a, enclosed area. But I mean, double check, don't take my word for it, but I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do because unless you have a fever, your body temperature, or your whatever, in your hypothermic or something like that, where your body temperature is too low. If you're, in a healthy body temperature state, it's going to be 98.6. I don't know what temperature viruses start dying. I'm assuming as soon as you get anything above
I,
that, start
I know
to.
what you're saying about the body, yeah, the body, but it does, but the cold does affect the viruses. I mean, the Spanish flu I told you still exists at higher altitudes where people were buried because it's buried in the bodies and it's still there because it's buried at such a high altitude and so cold that it can still live. And
Mhm.
there's always the threat that the Spanish flu from 100 years ago could spread again because it's
Yeah.
still out there, because it's all these people who died and they were buried at these very high and cold altitudes.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean, if the host died from the disease and then they, stopped living and it was cold, I'm sure the virus could survive. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if it doesn't kill the host and you get rid of it, I don't know. But that's what because I remember growing up thinking that, and then I was told that that was actually incorrect. That it has nothing to do with why,
hmm,
like the reason why people get sicker in the winter isn't because it's colder and that viruses are thriving more. It was that people were inside more. So again, I'll double check myself, but I
okay.
think that
Oh, I'm just rambling things I've heard
yeah,
myself. I don't know. I really don't know.
yeah.
Browser videos left in a comment just now saying, "Let's hope the T virus variant doesn't appear." So, um, sure, the T virus variant. What does that mean?
E virus.
Not sure what he means by that.
Um, I I don't know what the T virus is. Is I don't
The
know.
T virus variant meaning, I assume from coronavirus, whatever the T virus variant. I'm not sure what that means.
I
So,
don't I don't know. I haven't heard that one, but just add it to the, the list of variants that seem to be growing every day. It's like a new cryptocurrency. Every day there's a new variant, new crypto.
okay. Well, we can go and wrap everything up. Let's look at the question, see how many we got. 24 votes so far, no comments. Uh, wow, 63% out of the 24 people that voted said yes, yes. It's not 25% said no, and 13 said I don't care. So you're in the category of what? You know, or I don't care, I assume. I don't know what you didn't. I don't know what you said.
I'm gonna say no, a hard no.
Okay. Okay. And browser videos came back and said it's from Resident Evil. So sorry. You got us. Okay. Yeah, I'm not afraid of it. I'm just afraid that the government's going to start doing their crap again. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. So overreacting again. So
Mhm.
I would have to say no. I'm not afraid, but yes, I'm afraid that it's there could be an effect that's caused by people being stupid. That's going to cause more problems. That's my afraid. That's my fear. So
Well, that's a good fear to have because it's probably going to happen. I mean, I don't know. I know it's state to state, everything is different, but I'm just so grateful that I live in a place that, really prioritizes freedom and liberty and allows people to do what, live their lives freely as they want, for the most part. And I know a lot of states really don't have that good fortune. So wish everyone the best of luck.
all right. Well, okay. We'll go ahead and wrap everything up. Oh, and he left another smile, LOL, and a smile, a little smiley face with a tongue stick.
Well, thank you so much for interacting. This is awesome.
So, okay. Well, we'll come back to this next week and we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. So, thanks everybody. Anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
No, have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. Bye bye.